5, right?
Manliness in Me, a love story. The other night I was attending a stag party, and a question arose about when each of us felt we had truly become men. The other turds there started braying about their conquests in a way that made me wonder if the shift for them didn't have more to do with which initial they used to define their status when re-upping for the local MBLA chapter. Like any real man, I held my own counsel. I ordered 2 more long shots of Old Granddad, handed the affianced Nimrod a box of XL Rough Tread condoms, and left the sissies to their clucking. But the question struck with me. Back at my pad, I poured 6 fingers of Knob Creek, put some early Seeger on the box, fired up a Cohiba, and mused like a mofo. When the hell was the first time I felt like a man? There were so many goddamn options, and how did you define them exactly? I mean, I recalled the deep flush of pride that filled me in the summer of my 18th year when God granted me my first pubic hair. It looked as thick as a rat's tail, felt like cold metal, and tasted of the sea. But still, I remained a boy throughout that summer, no doubt about that. Then I remembered the first time I skinned a musquash to gobble its legendary scent sacs. My pineal gland extended toward the cold Arctic sun as the toxic magic of the sac juice hit my system. I sprayed a 6-foot circle of blood-specked diarrhea in the snow, and my head filled with visions of thistles, my spirit herb. But there was no overt gust of manhood inside me that day, even if one counts filth and vom as its essential building blocks. I drained my glass in exasperation and threw it across the room. As it shattered against the wood paneling, I flashed on the moment. It was the fall of 1991, soon after my 20th birthday. Myself and several other self-described Bly boys had gathered in the basement of a house in Jamaica Plains, Massachusetts. Clarence Clay Thomas had been nominated to the Supreme Court of the United States the previous week. It had been featured in endless Senate hearings at which they were clearly trying to emasculate the guy. These hearings were nothing but a farce, and we decided to congregate in the spirit of Iron John to send some positive energy in Mr. Thomas's direction. I was wearing a navy blue terry loincloth. My hair was collected into small braids tied with bright ribbons, and a feathery white beard hung around my ears. The muscles in my upper body and arms were corded, beaded with sweat and aching. The scent of molten bear fat was sharp in my nostrils as we entered the 3rd hour of meditation exorcism, and that was the moment I knew I was a man. We'd all begun the evening as mere boys. In tribute to the great Bly's theorem, we had shed our identity frocks and clothed ourselves as mythic figures. I and several others had cast ourselves as Iron John himself. Other figures included representations of the Jolly Green Giant, Gimli, son of Gloin, Captain Kangaroo, and the King of Cartoons. We looked a sight as the evening began. During the first hour, we slowly eviscerated a donkey piñata with its face painted to look like Anita Hill's. The papier-mâché beast was filled with gummy worms, and we took turns swinging at it blindfolded with a broomstick. In the background, a little Korg sampler endlessly repeated the incendiary first verse of Helen Reddy's I Am Woman. Blood was in the air when Gimli finally rent Anita in twain. The gummy worms poured onto the floor. The captain collected these into a bowl, and we ate them in turn, naming each worm after one of Eve's sins: immodesty, gossiping, bleeding, so forth. The worms were sweet, and we let them dissolve in our mouths, softly gargling the syrup they yielded until it coated our lips like chapstick, one of the other neutral non-gay mouth balms available in pharmacies worldwide. In the second hour, Reddy's empty threats were replaced by the thuggishly celebratory instrumental opening of Bo Diddley's I'm a Man. The air became thick with Bo's majestic guitar growl as we drew our mouthfuls of worm spirit onto each other's chests and drew portraits and slogans with one hand while we used the other to slowly pump iron with the 3-pound heavy hand weights we'd been instructed to bring. This was our tribute to the tribulation of St. Thomas, and so much of our handiwork reflected this. The most common design was Go Clay, accompanied by a sort of smiley face. Sounds stupid when I say it, I know, but hey, you try to draw while pumping. It's not as easy as it sounds. As the third hour began, our host, dressed as the Trix Rabbit, began to read from an inspirational text he had written. It was a melange of images.
We will never know how that
never will,
finishes.
Man.